Hi everybody, welcome to this week's Padilla in the Know. I am so excited to have Lindsey with us. Lindsey just wears so many hats, from a wellness entrepreneur to a best-selling author. She hosts a really amazing live event called Powerhouse Women, and she is the founder of that, and just so many things. So can you tell us a little bit about your career and some of your accomplishments, and then also what you're currently working on?
Oh my gosh. So many things to say. Really, Powerhouse Women is my main focus, and that is what I say is it exists to help other women get out of their own way and into action around their ideas. And I think as women, we can understand what it feels like to have these big ideas that we feel really compelled to share with the world. And then I notice a lot, and this is myself, this is other women around me, the moment I get that big idea, and there's new ones all the time, the next breath is all the reasons why I can't, or I'm not ready yet, or I'm not the one to carry this out. And that's not something that only I deal with. I know that everyone does. So I think the more we have those conversations out loud and help women feel like they're not alone in feeling that way, that's how we help them get out of their own way and start to create these epic things that the world absolutely needs. Yes. So we do that through the event, the podcast, we have an online community, and who knows what's next.
I know, so many good things, so many fun things in the work all the time for you. So tell me a little bit about why you believe so passionately in the power of balance and approaching being an entrepreneur from a healthy place versus this like all or nothing mentality that I think is sometimes a little glamorized on social. I feel like it's a little becomes this like inspirational thing. And
I very much have that gene of like it's almost a badge of honor if I'm working hard. Now that doesn't always mean that I'm producing results that I want. So I've had this interesting transformation myself with this whole idea of hustle versus flow. And what's interesting, so in my wellness business you mentioned, which I don't pour a ton of time into anymore, but that business was completely built out of hustle and always like, what's the next goal I'm setting? It was just never enough. So when I think about balance, I actually think about, for me, balance has come completely from like my inner game of how I'm approaching business, and am I surrendering? Am I trusting that, this is going to work out in my favor if I am willing to show up and if I'm willing to do the work every day? And what's interesting is there's a whole lot more flow around what has happened with Powerhouse Women, which is kind of like my second main business that I've built. And it's more fun, it's more successful, it's more abundant. So for me, I think the whole idea of balance has come from what's my motivation, what's driving me to produce results. If it's coming from a place of like angst and not enough and I've got to prove something, then for me that's out of alignment, which is where I think out of alignment, out of balance. And I can feel the difference. Like in my body, I can feel the difference of where I'm operating from. And then it's a simple shift to, okay, what do I need to surrender? What do I need to give up right now? What belief am I holding on to that is feeding this unhealthy side? Because I know that when I tap into that flow state, I'm like unstoppable, completely unstoppable.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point, because I know, having come up the ranks in magazines and production, that the hustle and burnout is constant. It is, but it's also a badge of honor, and it's like, how busy can you get? And like, it had some detrimental effects on my health. It had some detrimental effects on my mental well-being. And one of the reasons I wanted to start this company is I wanted to be able to work and do a great job and deliver, but I also wanted to be able to breathe. And I wanted to be able to find a way to have both in my life. And I think I'm starting to see it more and more, people be more open to the shift, but I do still feel like there is a lot of glamorized, like 24/7, hustle, like never take a breath, never breathe. And I feel like as a creative, I'm actually more creative and I'm more productive when I have space and I have time and I have the ability to take stock and enjoy other parts of my life and let those feed back into myself, but also feed into my work. I feel like my work is better.
Absolutely. What you said about just even like more creativity. when you are coming from that place of allowing rather than forcing, that's been a huge breakthrough for me too.
Yeah. Well, this kind of leads us perfectly into my next question. So, obviously talking to you now, it's like, oh, it's aligned and balanced. It's great. But was it always like that?
It's not every day. Oh gosh, no. So I'll share this. I've been in this season where a lot of opportunity is coming at me really quickly. That's what I thought I wanted. That's always what I thought I wanted. And now that I'm here, not only is it confronting in certain ways, but I actually catch myself trying to make it more work than it needs to be.
Yeah.
So it's never, even I've never had one 24-hour period where I'm like, I have been balanced all day long. It's this constant tug of war. It's this constant, almost like learning to get to know yourself again. And as I've stepped into my power or my purpose, I've overcome a lot of the blocks that were keeping me in that hustle, lack mindset. But then it's almost like my brain becomes just like a newer, more sophisticated, has new sophisticated ways of creating the same problem in my life. So it's never balanced. I don't think that balance truly exists. I think it's sort of this pinnacle that we all strive for, and that's a great thing, but I don't think there's like this place you reach called balance and then you have it all made. Right,
and it's like it's in that gear forever. It's like never changes or something. So how do you work on pursuing that balance and striving towards that balance and getting done what you need to get done, but not burning out?
Yeah, so I think that's an important distinction to make is I'm working, like if I were to use the old framework that I would use and I was so attached to, I'm actually working harder than ever. I'm producing more results than ever, but it doesn't get to the point of burnout because I can feel the difference I can really feel when I'm getting close to the edge, and then I know I've got to, put something into place, whether it's work a half day and then take some time for me. I also just I've learned what I need in order to recharge. I recharge best alone.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's just saying like, okay, my hubby's going to the gym. I'm going to stay home and literally just sit in quiet, and knowing that that's what feeds my soul. That's one of the reasons I'm out here in California, is because I've been working a lot lately, getting ready for our event coming up in a few weeks. And I just was craving a change of scenery. I live in Phoenix, where it is ungodly hot right now. So I was just craving some different weather, a different energy. So I think it's tuning into what I need and then not being afraid to put into place whatever I need to put into place in order to have that and restore that balance, because I know that if I let it go too far one way, it actually starts to affect my physical body. Like I'll get like a lower back pain that I can't shake, or I'm just so tired and fatigued throughout the day. So I'm always learning what I need in order to restore that. But I actually love my work, so it's a challenge because I want to work. That's what's fun to me. Whenever people ask like, what are your hobbies, I'm like, work. But because I think when you are pursuing something that you're that passionate about, it's so cliche that it doesn't feel like work, but it doesn't. It doesn't feel like a chore. It doesn't feel like work used to be to me. So I have to, number one, listen to myself, but then I also have people in my life who hold me accountable. I always joke that my husband is my fun coach. So he has full permission at certain times of the day to be like, okay, we're going to remove you from the computer. You're going to come and watch a movie or, whatever that. So even communicating with people in my life about, like, you're going to see me go off the deep end and I'm just going to want to work all the time. So please bring me back.
Yeah, it's important though. It's good to have people in your life that will help you do that.
Yeah, get a fun coach.
Yeah. I like the sound of that. Yeah. I think everyone needs a fun coach. That sounds great. So what have you done to change the conversation around what you're capable of in your own head? And how has the framing of that evolved and shifted over time?
That has also just been such a constant evolution. I think I'm more aware than ever about when we talk about with women, getting out of your own way, the biggest version of getting in my own way that I have used forever is just my own beliefs about what I'm capable of. So I think number one, not beating myself up, having grace when I catch myself in those negative thought patterns, or when I catch myself. It's interesting that in such a season of abundance and opportunity, like I was sharing, I've actually felt more confronted than ever. I've noticed that it's almost like that little voice in our head that says we're not enough, like all that garbage. Someone gave her a megaphone. I don't know who. It was not me. So it's interesting that, like, the more the perceived success on the surface has grown, actually, like, the louder that conversation is about, like, are you really enough? Like, are people going to figure out that, like, you are not that great? And so just to honor it, to kind of, like, acknowledge it, but then also do some, so, like, where I used to just hear that, I know it makes it sound like I, like, hear voices. I don't, you know what we're talking about. So I used to, like, hear that, and it was as though someone was like, the sky is blue and you're not enough. It was, like, so true to me. Yeah. And I learned to start to challenge that and just start to be like, but why? Why do I believe that? Maybe where's that coming from? Or, is that really my comfort zone trying to keep me safe? Or does it mean that, okay, maybe I don't know how to do X and I could learn? So I think the more that, almost sounds cheesy, but like treating that voice of what I'm not capable of, treating it like it's coming from a third person, and just being like, but okay, let me challenge that. Is that really true? Or could I find, and all you really need is like the tiniest mustard seed of hope. It's like we treat it such black and white, you're incapable or I'm not, but then it's like that mustard seed could be, but could I learn it? Could I find someone to mentor me who's done it before? Mm-hmm. Am I willing to do it and be bad? And sometimes, like, that's actually what's in the way, is I'm not willing to risk being terrible at it. Yeah. So I just say I'm not capable.
Or the perceived, like, failure of it.
Yep.
Yeah. No, totally. And I think it's really easy to fall down that rabbit hole. I think it's particularly easy when you're an entrepreneur, because you're by yourself a lot. Like, you're the board meeting of one.
You and the boys.
So there isn't a lot of peers to bounce your insecurity off of, whereas normally you would be on a team or have coworkers or someone that you could confide in and be like, oh, I feel so crazy about this, I don't know. And they'd be like, no, you've got it, you can do it. And you'd be like, oh, okay, they believe me, so I will too.
And that's actually a great point. Something that I felt silly doing at first, but I found people in my life, my husband is one, I have a couple close friends where I can literally call them, and I never want sympathy, I'm just like, hey, I'm feeling this way, can you remind me what a badass I am right now? Like, I will literally set a timer for my husband, and I'll be like, for 1 minute, I just need you to fill my cup and remind me, like, who I am, who you see me as, the difference that you see me making. And just to be able to ask for what I need and borrow other people's belief when I don't have it. And there are plenty of days that I don't have it.
Yeah, and I think that's important, is that, a lot of times you're following or watching someone on social and you're really getting the highlight reel. And so you're getting all the moments where you look confident and you feel confident and you're like, this is great. Yeah. And you never really know what's going on behind the scenes. You never really know, like, maybe they woke up that morning and were like, oh, I don't know if I can do this today, or I don't know, like, how I feel about this, or whatever. And, and they just bit the bullet and did it. And from the outside looking in, it looks great. It looks like a dream. But from the inside, it may be something totally different. And I think it's important to know that, it doesn't have to be perfect, and it doesn't have to feel awesome all the time. Like, there can be some give and take, and there should be. And it is important to have people in your life to help mitigate some of those emotions. So speaking of which, what do you do when self-doubt, fear, insecurities, limiting beliefs, all that girl with the megaphone shows up and all that comes flooding in? Like, how do you work with some of that?
I cry. A lot of times I do. Just have a good cry. And then, again, it kind of just depends on what I need. I just came through a very intense, like, 2-week season where there was like a physical impact on me. It was like physical anxiety, and just, I felt small. I felt like I just felt like the world was kind of caving in on me, and I knew logically what was happening. I know that I'm like bumping up against where I am comfortable being and living. So so I think sometimes just even logically knowing, like, I know what's happening. Okay. And then, doing some things that really do fill my cup. So writing and I think what really helps me snap out of it is, so a lot of times my self-doubt and fear comes around my purpose, like building my company and serving women. And so I actually have like a love folder in my phone of like, I'll take screenshots of text messages or Instagram messages where people have said, here's the impact this has made. And it's not like an automatic. Like, I think sometimes it's good to know that those seasons do sometimes last for a couple days, a couple weeks. But I knew I was committed to moving through it. This one was just particularly sticky. I mean, usually I don't stay there for two weeks. It's like a day. One of the things I did on my drive out from Phoenix, if you've never read this book, this is like my highest recommendation for anybody who is committed to becoming a bigger version of themselves. It's called The Big Leap. Have you read it?
No.
So it's all about how our brains have like this tolerance for how great we'll allow our life to be. So interestingly enough, when I'm having a big business success, I'll start to sabotage my health and fitness, or I'll pick fights with my husband. So I'll start to level the playing field in other areas of my life.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating. It's so fascinating. And so he goes into the research behind it, and then even how to identify, and he's, things like worry, or things like if you're, starting to pick fights, or, just like nitpick things, a lot of times that's a sign that we're hitting what he calls like an upper limit. So it's like this opportunity to really break through and find like a new level of being comfortable in that next phase of success.
Yeah.
But some of the stuff, I mean, he gives like incredible examples of even like mainstream examples that we've seen play out in history of someone who is at the height of their career and then they sabotaged it.
Yeah.
Or something came crashing down, and when he points to it as like an upper limit problem, it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
So I actually just went back to that book. I've probably read it 4 or 5 times, but I had a long drive to California, so I revisited it, and that actually helped me find some power again around how I was feeling, because it came in such a sneaky way. I wasn't thinking about it like, okay, well, of course I'm hitting an upper limit. Like, my business is like more than doubled, tripled, quadrupled. Like, there's all these great things happening, which we think that's what we want, but it actually, to the brain, it's like, hold on, whoa.
Right. Well,
like,
because it's so much change, and you've been conditioned societally to wait for the other shoe to drop. So you're waiting for something terrible to happen. And so the anxiety that you're creating around that in your mind is like nitpicking, looking for a weak spot so that you can tap at it.
Yeah. He gives like the example of lottery winners. Like, you hear how lottery winners, like, you look at their lives a few years later, they're in worse shape than when they won the lottery.
Yeah.
Because it's like we don't realize that like our brain has like a certain tolerance for what's comfortable in our life, and when we supersede that, even if it's for a good reason, it's like a toddler in a tiara having a meltdown. It's crazy. Like, and this is the stuff that not many people talk about, but like, it is so worth it. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to like go through this and to have these opportunities, but I was not prepared for how confronting it would feel. Yeah,
it's so interesting because I feel like my biggest challenge with my business is managing my mind around it. Managing my mind around success, managing my mind around perceived obstacles, managing my mind around how I think other people are going to react to what I say or what I do. Like, that's a big one for me, because I want everyone to like feel good and be happy and feel heard and all of that. And then if any bump hits up in the road, my mind wants to assume all the responsibility for it. And but I use it almost like as a tool against myself. And it's because I'm hitting that upper limit, and I'm transitioning to a different level, to a different place. And so it's a daily practice. It's constantly something that you have to work on, and you have to like think about and deal with all the time.
You would love this book.
Yeah, well, don't worry. When I leave here, I'll be down. I'll be getting that. I'm going to be putting it on my Audible.
It's called The Big Leap. And it's got a fishbowl on the front. It's like a quick read. It's my favorite book of all time.
I love it. I'm super into it. Thank you for the recommendation. So, what are 3 common mistakes that you see entrepreneurs make? Well, let me preface this by saying that you get to talk to a lot of different people and a lot of different women who are at different points in their career, and some of them have just made the leap into being an entrepreneur, and some of them have been doing it for a long time, and maybe some did it for a minute, put it down, and then are coming back to it. So what are 3 common mistakes that you see entrepreneurs making when it comes to dealing with doubts and fears and insecurities? And what are some of the tips that you like to share to help navigate these waters a little bit better?
I think just overall we give the fear and the doubt too much power. And that can play out in a lot of different ways. You know, I talk to a lot of women who say, well, I don't feel ready. In my experience, I can only speak from my own. I've never felt ready. It's like waiting for NSYNC to get back together. That day is not coming, unfortunately. That stopped me for years. So this isn't like I'm going to just stand here and tell you that I just got over that. No, I still never feel ready to, and that's almost the litmus test that I use now to know what I should go toward next, is if I'm like, I don't know how that's going to turn out, but it sounds really fun, then I'm going to figure that out. So I think giving it too much power, expecting that we'll ever feel ready or we'll ever feel like we have everything that we need. But then the biggest one, and this is what our motto in Powerhouse Women is, we're not meant to do this alone. So, you know, I think a lot of the fear and doubt talks about, our inner dialogue talks about and loves to shine a spotlight on the characteristics we don't have. Well, guess what? You're not meant to have all of the characteristics. You're not meant to have all the skills, all the talents in order to make a really big vision come to life. And that was hard for me to understand at first. Yeah. Because I feel like I want to know it all. I want to be like fully prepared, and then, you know, there's almost just this, again, badge of honor around like, well, I can do it myself. I can do it all.
Right, exactly. And oh yeah, like I did this, and this, and I like somehow learned all of these different things. And I agree. I feel like I had I can't talk. Let me start over again. Okay. Once upon a time in a different career, I had a boss who said you can have it fast, good, or cheap. Ooh. And you can pick two of the three, but you can't have all three. Wow, and she would always apply that when we got really busy and there was a lot of stuff going on, and I would always try to I'll just take that on. I can just do that. I'll stay late and figure it out.
Guilty.
And I worked myself to the bone. And she was finally like, okay, time out. So like, you can't do it all, and that's fine. And you need a team, and you actually are better at your job when you have the ability to delegate some things away. And the older I get and the more experience I have, the more I see how right she was. Because at first I took it as it meant that I couldn't do it, or I wasn't good enough, or that she didn't have confidence in me or whatever. And now I realize, no. She's actually knows what she's talking about. Yeah. And that it's been such a big lesson for me to learn in my own life that it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to admit that that's not your strong suit. Yeah. It's okay to hire out if you need, just like it's okay to ask for your worth. Yeah. Because you are not only asking for your worth, but the worth of your team that you're hiring to help you perform your job. Yeah. And it's, that to me is also something that I feel like as an entrepreneur becomes kind of a challenge point, because obviously people want to get a good deal and feel like they're getting a good deal for what they're paying for. And it's like, learning to stand your ground on that and be like, that's fine, like I'm not the right fit for you, and having the confidence to walk away is like big life lesson. Yeah, so good. Yeah, like asking for help and leaning into someone for real. And
realizing, so this was like the mind-blowing part for me. Okay, so past Lindsey feeling like, I've just got to do it myself, I've got to know how, to realize that the parts of my business I hate, that I dread doing. I'm going to use the most recent example that I outsourced is setting up email campaigns. I know it's important. I want my community to know I'm thinking about them, but translating it from my brain into an email service provider and getting it into their inboxes wasn't happening. It was not happening. And then I met, it's actually a friend who decided to pivot in her business because she loves to do the things I hate. I want you to get that. She loves doing the things that I hate. I can empower someone else around their zone of genius and free myself up to do more of mine by realizing I can do a terrible job at the things that I keep complaining about, or hire someone who literally loves it. Like she gets so much joy out of doing my email campaigns.
Yeah, and you're not only is it not your strong suit, but then you basically marinate it in hate. and dislike and
So
all
silly.
the bad energy. And so then you're sending that out and putting that in everyone's inbox because whether or not you want, it's coming through. It's just like on
Like a
film.
little lump of coal.
Yeah, it's like a little lump of coal. And that's not the vibe you want to put out. And yeah, I mean, for me, that's accounting. I have a lovely accountant.
And there are people who
and
love
he loves
accounting.
it. He's super excited and jazzed
Bless
about
those
it.
people.
And he is so enthusiastic when we talk about it. And I'm just like, how long do I have to be here? When can I get out? Is it time for lunch?
The more I've started to surround my business and my team, so it's just me. I don't have employees yet, but I have a lot of people that I contract things out with because I get to benefit from the joy that they experience doing the thing they love and doing it for me. And it took a while to find those people, but it actually like frees up my time, yes, and I get so many other benefits because I'm surrounding myself with passionate people.
Yeah.
And then my community gets the best version of me because I'm passionate. I'm excited about what I'm doing every day.
Yeah. Well, and also you get to learn new things about it because they're excited about it. They're passionate about it. They're learning about it and sharing that with you. And so you're able to educate yourself kind of by default, which is nice. So instead of it becoming this like tedious drudgery, like, you know, for me living in California, tax law for small business, it's a real puzzle.
Oh, yes.
What's happening? So instead of trying to figure that out on my own, which would have been less fun than the dentist, my accountant's super excited about it, and he is excited to tell me about it, and I'm actually excited to hear about it because his enthusiasm is rubbing off on me, which I love, and then I'm able to have a knowledgeable conversation with people and give the impression that I know what I'm talking about, which we love, when really I don't know that much about tax law.
So true. Clearly, I'm very passionate about that subject. We both are,
right? Yeah.
But it's because that was a big barrier to me taking a leap forward. Is you can get to a certain point doing it all on your own, and sometimes it's good. You got to start out that way. But the more I've started to let go of things that I notice drain my energy, drain my joy, I would much rather spend money and really invest money to outsource that because I now can spend so much more of my precious energy focused on building revenue in other ways, and it's been a game changer. Yeah,
and I think there's a huge difference in trying to procure a certain baseline of knowledge so that you can have an educated conversation with a professional so that you aren't getting fleeced, which nobody wants.
Yeah.
But you can confidently delegate things away so that you can keep an eye on it, make sure it's like not on fire, but you don't need to be in the nitty gritty day to day of it, and it frees your mind up, and it gives you time.
Oh my gosh, look, my shirt says free your mind.
I didn't even
plan that, folks. We did not plan that.
I honestly didn't read your
I know. No, it's fine.
So good, so good.
I always want to sing this song.
I love it. Oh yeah, it's a good one.
So anyway, go ahead and you're welcome for that.
I love that. That's so good. So you've referenced it a few times. Can you explain what Powerhouse Women is for those who may not know?
Sure. So, Powerhouse Women as a community is just a place for you to grow. It's a place for you to connect with like-minded women, and I think a lot of us are craving those genuine connections with like-minded women who are out there stepping into their bigger purpose. Even if you're that woman who doesn't know what your purpose is yet, you just have that unsettling feeling that there's more for you. And what I love about, it's interesting, the title came from the title of my book, which is called Powerhouse Woman, and then everything else now is Powerhouse Women because it's us.
Yep.
But I actually rejected that title first because Powerhouse has like such almost that perception on the surface level of what we were talking about before, of like hustle and force and like roar, I'm woman, hear me roar, which isn't me at all. I'm like, hey guys, want to be friends? But I think there's something powerful to claim that word back as women. And the book was really written from the standpoint of you don't need to learn more or go in and become someone else. Like, here is the pathway to become a powerhouse woman. The book actually pointed all of us back, myself included, to no, what you need is actually already within you. That's what makes you a powerhouse. As women, we're designed to create. We have that wired in our DNA to create life, to create things, to create businesses. I think we just forget. So what it is to be a powerhouse is a woman who is pursuing her unique calling and doing it in a way that's giving back to the world. You're pursuing your purpose because it's not about you, it's about who you're going to impact in the process. And you get that, I mean, we're all just here for such a short time, and we have the opportunity to make an impact while we're here. And that's the best way that I've found to free myself from all that other nonsense about how not good enough I am, is to focus on what can I do, what do I know, what about my story could possibly help someone else.
I love that. I think that it's really such an awesome group, and it's just such an incredible community, and you guys should check it out if you haven't yet. It's a lot
of fun.
It really is. It's fun, and it's inspiring,
too.
And like,
it's like a real, we use the term girl gang because I think like in a gang, I don't know, I've never been a part of a gang. I don't know if you could tell by this blazer, but I feel like a gang are like people who aggressively support your goals, and so we have a girl gang, and we actually do have matching jackets. That's like how we roll.
I did not know that, but I'm into it.
No,
I like it a lot. So our last question for today, tell me a little bit about why you feel finding a community as an entrepreneur is so important.
Oh my goodness, how much time do we have? Quite honestly. You know, again, as an entrepreneur, you're constantly creating new things that haven't been created before. And I think for a while there was maybe this mentality, especially among women, you know, that women weren't open to collaborating, or there was this sense of competition. And the truth is, I think that's such an outdated story. Sure, you're going to maybe find that from time to time, but we all go further faster if we're willing to share resources and realize that even if you and I were both creating a women's community, there's something to be gained from each one.
Yeah.
And that it's such a limited mindset to think like if someone else creates something similar, that takes opportunity away from me.
Right.
And so I think why community is important is because, again, you have a purpose. You were put on this earth for a reason. Whether or not you choose to step into pursuing that is completely up to you. You always have the choice. But if you're really going to do it, like for real, and if you are going to give your life to helping others, serving others, you can't do it alone. You weren't meant to do it alone. And community is going to help you serve on a bigger level than you could ever serve by yourself. And if that's what we're here for, then why wouldn't we plug in to a resource or a group of people who are going to help us maximize our impact and just have way more fun doing it.
Yeah, so true. I love that. Well, tell everyone where they can find you and follow along.
Well, you can find me right at the Starbucks right now.
Here in Santa Monica.
Here in Santa Monica. I'm sure you'll tag the Instagram handles and all that. Powerhouse Women is our girl gang, and that's just at powerhouse_women. Our website is linked in the Instagram profile, and the event is coming up on September 7th. So I don't care where in the world you live or what plans you have that weekend. I'm telling you, if you feel right now like you're meant to plug into a community like this, do what you need to do to get in that room. And I can tell you, I was having this DM conversation with a woman just a couple of days ago who, was like, oh, the money, I don't know if I have the money. And I said, well, it's a matter of who do you have to become to make that possible? Who do you have to become in order to physically work out your schedule to be there, work out your finances to be there? Because it's never a matter of time or money. It's going back to all the stories of like how we're limited by something. So I always tell people, if you feel like you're like being pulled and being called to be in that room, that just means there's something there for you. Or you're going to meet someone, you're going to hear that one thing that you needed to hear in order to take your next step. And it's not my job to make sure people have breakthroughs. I just provide the space for breakthroughs. And there are some freaking unbelievable breakthroughs that happen in that room.
I love it.
It's going to be amazing.
So good. It really is. It's going to be great. I've gotten to see Lindsey speak a number of times, and she's magic. So it's going to be good,
I just find myself really funny.
Yeah.
So I just laugh at my own expense most of the time.
She's selling herself short. She's very good. Well, this has been a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us. And guys, thank you always. It's so nice to have you join. And we will see you next week. All right, bye.